All right, it is the evening weather briefing from Monday, the 3rd of November, and this is the evening edition. I am Josh Brown. Well, I'm coming on a little earlier today because I do have a late night shift at work, so I won't be able to do the update as usual, which is at 8 p.m. But that will resume tomorrow. So I do apologize for that. But anyways, I do hope that you had a great weekend and of course a great Monday so far. And if you've been enjoying this pleasant weather over the last few days, we have more of that on the way as we head into the rest of our first week in November, which will have more details on it in just a little bit later, or in a few minutes rather. But let's go ahead and check out the latest on temperatures currently out the door this afternoon. Here we are at this 1:30 hour, and we have temperatures mostly sitting pretty nicely in the low to mid 70s across the coverage area, with perhaps a little warm south where you have temperatures sitting in the low to mid 80s around places like Sarasota to Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and surrounding areas in that section. But temperatures up here are looking much cooler up north, where you have some 50s and 60s around for the Mississippi Valley, and perhaps the same thing for the Panhandle. But if you have some plans later on this afternoon, whether be heading to run some errands, perhaps meeting with someone for lunch, should be a good day to do that. As we expect yet more in the way of sunshine with no rain in sight. But if you're wondering if we're going to see any rain on the horizon, well, it looks like there may not be much as we head into the rest of our work week. But I'll show you on the GFS and when we can see our next chance for rain, possibly for us in just a little bit. Here's a live look at the radar this afternoon. Yet things are quiet out there across most of our viewing area, actually, and elsewhere across the state. And in case if you're wondering how the tropics are looking, well, I'm happy to report that the tropics are looking pretty quiet across both the Gulf, the Caribbean, and the Atlantic regions, with no formations expected within the next 5 to 7 days. And I don't expect anything as far as formations go for the next couple of weeks due to those potential cold fronts that will start to move through from the north to south as far as here. So that helps keeps the tropics or to prevent from forming. So that's a good thing we could hear and use. All right, so let's go ahead and check out the latest HER model, which does take you through the next 18 hours. And again, folks, if you're just coming on into this live broadcast, I don't mind if you could share this with your friends, families, followers, etc. And you know my motto, and that is sharing is caring. So checking out the temperatures later on, we'll say by 3 o'clock this afternoon. We'll see the numbers start to jump up in the middle to upper 70s for areas from Orlando and points west to go towards the west side. Looks like high temperatures this afternoon up here towards, we'll say near St. John's, down towards Volusia and Flagler counties could start to only get up into the upper 60s to around or near 70s. A bit of a cool day in store for this afternoon. And then you got temperatures looking pretty warm south, where you have yet highs in the low to mid 80s a little bit later. And then you got temperatures up here that will start to will only get up in the 50s and 60s yet for the Mississippi Valley and for the Panhandle side of the state. And if we have some plans later this evening, once the sun sets, we'll see the numbers start to drop in the 50s and low 60s. So be sure to grab the jacket or a sweater if you're going to be out and about. But other than that, things should be looking pretty pleasant as far as the weather goes. And it looks like the only spot where temperatures may stay warm this evening will be down south, where there could be some 60s and low to mid 70s for evening temps. Yet in places like Sarasota, Vero Beach, Miami, those areas in that section. And then you got temperatures that will start to get down a little chillier in the 40s and 50s for the Mississippi Valley and yet for the Panhandle, also by 8 p.m. tonight. And making our way into the overnight late tonight on into early Tuesday morning. Looks like by 6 a.m. we'll see temperatures begin off a little chilly, especially up north where you have lows in the 40s up in places like Ocala to Jacksonville. Panama City, Pensacola, and perhaps as far north you go towards the valley. But there could be some spots where temperatures could get down as chilly as the upper 30s, especially over here towards South Georgia and for parts of the Birmingham areas. But other than that, most spots will just be in the 40s. Again, for areas just to the north of Orlando. And it looks like temperatures may begin off a little warm south, where there could be some upper 60s to around or near 70 from near Vero Beach down towards Miami and the Keys section. But if we could check the latest NAM model run, which does take you through the next couple of days. And yet, we'll see temperatures by tomorrow afternoon starting to warm up just like today, and over the last few days too, just in the low to mid 70s across the the Sunshine State itself, with perhaps some 60s to low 70s returning for highs in the Mississippi Valley region. It's a little better than it'll be for today, yet with more sun in store. And then by tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, we'll see temperatures looking to stay mild, not quite as cool than they'll be tonight or last night. So instead of seeing 50s for evening temps, we'll see temperatures get down in the mid to upper 60s to around or near 70 for some places. And then here we are late tomorrow night on into early Wednesday morning. We'll see yet another warm start. Well, not another, but just a warm start, so not quite as cool as we could expect temperatures to begin in the mid 60s around most of central Florida, and then some low 70s south. And then you got another chilly start up north where temperatures could begin in the 40s and 50s for Interstate 10 and north you go towards the valley. And then Wednesday afternoon shows temperatures yet warming up a few degrees above average. It shows anywhere from the upper 70s and lower 80s around the state, and perhaps you got some 70s returning, mid 70s that is, for the Mississippi Valley region, also for your Wednesday afternoon by 3 p.m. And then by 7 o'clock that evening, yet temperatures looking to stay mild with some 60s and 70s around. So there you have it there. So let's go ahead and check out the latest GFS model, which does take you through the next couple of weeks. So by Thursday afternoon, we'll see most of us dry, but there might be a few showers down over the southeastern part of the peninsula from Vero Beach down towards the Keys region. And if there's any rain that day, the chances stays pretty much minimal at about 20%. But other than that, most of Florida in the Mississippi Valley yet tends to stay fairly dry with plenty of sun in store. And then you got temperatures yet warming up a little bit more, but most of the same like it'll be for Wednesday, which is upper 70s and lower 80s around, with perhaps temperatures warming up back in the lower 80s too for the Interstate 10 corridor from New Orleans over towards Jacksonville, with mid to upper 70s for the rest of the valley, which includes Jackson, Birmingham, Montgomery, Atlanta, and off towards the far east you go into Charleston. Now, moving into Friday, which is the 7th of November, shows the rain chances starting to pick up a bit, mostly down in South Florida. And if there's showers that day, the chances for that will start to go up around, we'll say, as high as 50 to a 60% coverage. But looks like around I-4 and north still looks to stay yet on the mostly dry pattern. And the reason why the rain chances may start to increase a bit for southern Florida is mostly because of all that moisture that will start to build slowly but surely from the south to north. So hope that explains to you, or I should say that I hope that explains to you all. Trying to get this sentence complete here and understand what I'm trying to say here. So just always bear with me. And then looking at the high temperatures on Friday, it looks like we'll see most of us getting back in the lower 80s, a little warmer than it'll be for the next several days. But this is Friday you're seeing here. And it looks like some places could see temperatures maybe heat up as high as the mid 80s also by the end of the week. And of course, you got temperatures up north that will start to warm up a little more too, but almost the same, which is yet another day of upper 70s and lower 80s for I-10 and north you go towards the Mississippi Valley. And then making our way into your Saturday, looks like we'll see yet some more showers down in South Florida, with maybe a little bit of some activity moving up a little north too for our southern counties of our coverage area. So that may include Polk, Osceola, and Brevard counties, but the chances for any rain that may happen on Saturday stays pretty much on the minimal side. But there is a storm system, though, that will start to bring some unsettled weather for the Mississippi Valley. It may mostly just be rain that is, and that could be ahead of another front we'll have to watch too. So I'll keep you guys posted, but this is several days out, so that can always change. And looking at the high temperatures on Saturday, and yeah, we're talking a very warm day, as we could see temperatures heat up in the mid 80s across the coverage area, and perhaps down in South Florida, if this is right, temperatures may end up heating up as high as the upper 80s to some, maybe hitting around or near 90s. It may feel a little more like summer down in places like Sarasota, Fort Myers, Naples, Miami, those areas in that direction. And then with the system up here bringing the better chances for showers and perhaps, if not, a few thunderstorms for the Mississippi Valley, that could start to drop temperatures a little bit in the upper 60s and into the low to mid 70s. But with these warm temperatures and with all this moisture building up, some of these storms could turn strong to severe. Let's check out the instability and see what it has to say about that. And it looks like there might be some favorable conditions to see some severe activity for areas along I-10 and slightly up north across places like near Montgomery to Jackson. We'll say the Valdosta areas. And that could also include portions of the Panhandle side of the state too. So there might be a few strong storms around too. So something to watch. But as you understand, as you know, this is several days out, and that can change as we get closer. Let me. I'm gonna go check. I'm gonna go check my dog for just one moment here because I just forgot that he's outside. So I'll be right back in just a moment. All right, sorry about that again, folks. Again, I totally forgot that my dog was outside and I heard him barking. So, but everything's good. All right, so back to what I was saying here. So this is Saturday. I just mentioned just a moment ago here. So let's get to Sunday. And it looks like we'll see the system up towards the valley start to weaken a little bit to mostly just scattered showers as it moves into the east side of Alabama on into Georgia and South Carolina. But it seems the system may start to miss us. Maybe not the front, but the weather maker, as you can see here. So it seems that most of Central Florida may turn out to be mostly dry for the most part, but there might be a few showers over here towards the coast of Brevard County, down south towards we'll say near the Dade County areas, with the cover staying mostly at 30%. So it won't be an all-day washout if that's right, but just know there might be a few showers around. All right, checking out the high temperatures on Sunday, and yet turning out to be very warm, as we can see temperatures jump up in the upper 80s for most places, and yet some spots down in South Florida could see another day of temperatures yet hitting around or near 90, just like it'll be for Saturday. And here comes that front over here. They'll start to drop temperatures back into a fall pattern, which is where they should normally be for this time of year, and it shows numbers dropping as low as the 60s and into the lower to, if not mid 70s, for places from stretching near New Orleans up into near the Atlanta areas. And then here's Monday of next week, November 10th, and it shows some of that moisture blending up a little bit, and that could spark some scattered showers around central and southern Florida. So I think that's when the next chance of rain could be returning, which may be Monday. And if that's right, we'll call for about a 40 to a 50% coverage of seeing some of that activity here in our state itself. And check this out. The same front will start to bring temperatures back down from the 80s to the 60s and 70s heading into early next week. So if you're maybe not a fan of fall-like weather, but a big fan of warm weather, then you may want to enjoy this weekend, because that could change by then. And then you got temperatures up to the north. It will start to feel very chilly, as numbers may start to not make it out of the 40s, 50s, and low 60s, as you can see. But if we could check the lows for the first half of the day on Monday, it shows, temperatures turning out to be pretty cold in the low to mid 30s for places like Birmingham, Jackson, maybe a little north of Pensacola, Biloxi, Mobile, and the Atlanta areas. And if that's the case, that could lead into the possibility for maybe a widespread frost and maybe a freeze event, if that's the case here. But understand this is still about a week out, so just note that the models can still bring some adjustments here as we get closer to early next week. But if we could check the lows here for the first half of the day on Tuesday, November 11th, and it shows yet a bit of a chilly start to the day, where it indicates morning lows in the 40s and 50s for most of our area. and then another start of some 30s up north across the Mississippi Valley region, and this time for the Panhandle side of Florida. So yet, if that's right, there could be another morning of some potential frost and a freeze event, not just for Monday, but heading into Tuesday. So you may want to think about protecting those tropical plants, especially if you live just north of here. Um, if the models are right here, again, this is still a 1 week away, so this can change. But if it doesn't change much, yes, plants may need to be monitored and protected if we do see a frost or a freeze event here for parts of our region. And if this does happen, again, the best thing to do is to cover them up with a blanket or bring them into your garage or your house and before going to bed, at least the morning before, because if you don't, that could kill the frost. It is any vegetation that might be out there, and you don't want that to happen. So I hope that makes sense to you all. But at least the system will start to move away from our region heading into the day on Tuesday the 11th. And then checking out the high temperatures, and it shows yet a cooler day with some of you struggling to get out of the 60s, including places like Ocala to the Villages, DeLand, Palm Coast, and others could see temperatures warming up as high as the low to mid 70s from the metro and south also by next Tuesday. And it shows temperatures struggling to get out of the 50s to low 60s up around I-10 and north around the Mississippi Valley region. Again, a big thanks to this potential next front that may start to move in around that time. And looking at the lows for the morning of the 12th, which is next Wednesday, and it appears that temperatures for low-wise may not be quite as cold than maybe for Monday and Tuesday. It shows temperatures getting back into the upper 30s and low to mid 40s for the Mississippi Valley and the Panhandle, and then returning back in the 50s for lows around central Florida, basically from I-4 up towards Jacksonville. And then yet the region continues to stay pretty quiet as we head into the middle of next week, with most of the showers staying farther south near the Bahamas region and down towards Cuba. And then you got temperatures heating back in the mid to upper 70s after a day of seeing some cool temperatures, or 2 days rather. And then also shows temperatures warming back in the lower 80s down in South Florida. So it could be a pretty nice day if that's right. Beach-wise, so if you're thinking about heading to the beach in southern Florida, like Marco Island, Naples, or Miami, or whatever, should be a good day to do that. With these temperatures, again, that will be they'll be a little bit warm enough. And then you got temperatures also up north that will start to warm up slowly but surely back in the 60s and into the lower 70s yet for highs heading into midweek. Not this week, but next week. And then this is Thursday, November 13th, and it shows some of that moisture starting to build up again a little bit from the Atlantic, and I can start to spark maybe some showers to return for the southeastern side of the peninsula from Vero Beach down towards Miami in the Keys region. But other than that, the rest of the state and the valley tends to still be on the fairly dry pattern. And then you got temperatures that will start to, well, pretty much be the same like it'd be for the 12th. It shows numbers ranging from the middle to upper 70s to some in the lower 80s range across the state. And you got temperatures heating back in the mid 70s for highs in the Mississippi Valley, also by the 13th. So pretty nice. Could be a pretty nice day if the trend is right. And then this is Friday, November 14th, and it shows the moisture pushing farther back down south towards the Bahamas and the rest of the Caribbean section. And if that's also the case, that could spark maybe a few showers down towards Fort Lauderdale in Miami. Again, before all the moisture, pushes way farther south. But the rest of the state, and yet the Mississippi Valley, tends to be on the quiet pattern. And then you got temperatures once again still staying the same, which is another round of mid to upper 70s around central Florida, and then temperatures a little warm south in the lower 80s in places like Miami to Fort Lauderdale, Naples, and the Marco Island communities. And then you got temperatures will start to slightly cool down in the 60s and low 70s, associated with another front moving in from the north to south. So that's something we could watch, but understand this is now here we are in the land of voodoo country, and that it can all change as we get closer to around that time frame. All right, this is Saturday, November 15th, and it shows, yeah, much of the region turning out to be fairly dry. Could be a few coastal showers down towards the coast of Jupiter, down towards Miami, but other than that, the chances of that activity stays very minimal as the potential front moves closer into a little closer to where we live here, which is the Sunshine State. And yet, with that front moving in closer, that will start to drop temperatures more slowly but surely. And we're talking pretty much in the low to mid 70s, we're going to say for now, with perhaps some 50s and 60s for highs up towards Georgia and for portions of South Carolina heading into the 15th. And we got some 60s and low 70s as well for highs for West Alabama on into the central and southern portion of Mississippi down towards the east side of Louisiana. But looking at the lows for the first half of the 15th shows, yet as the front gets closer, we could see some cooler, at least a cooler start to the day with some low temperatures in the 50s for places like the Villages, Ocala to Sumterville, up around Jacksonville and Gainesville, and then some chillier temperatures in the 30s and 40s up in the Mississippi Valley region. Most of the 30s will be mostly happening for Augusta to near Charleston and surrounding areas in right up here where my arrow is circling. And then here's the morning of the 16th, which is the following Sunday, and it shows yet a bit of a cool start to the day with some 50s and low 60s. Yet thanks to this potential front that may start to move into our direction. And we're also talking temperatures still starting out pretty chilly in the upper 30s to low to mid 40s for East Alabama and off towards the far east you go into near the coastline of South Carolina. But yet no rain in sight ahead of that front as the ridge of high pressure remains to be building near where we live. And that could be the case too heading into the second half of the day on the 16th across the region, with maybe some showers moving in towards the coast of Louisiana and Mississippi, but the chances for that stays minimal for the moment. And here are the high temperatures for the 16th, and it shows yet warming up a little bit, but still staying mostly the same, where it indicates anywhere from the middle to upper 70s here in the Sunshine State, with perhaps some 60s and low 70s for highs in the Mississippi Valley region. And then you got Monday, November 17th, and it shows some showers moving back into the southern and eastern part of the state, with thanks to some of that moisture building in from the south to north a little bit. And then you got the rest of Florida still looking mostly dry, including here in our central part of the state. And you got a few more showers that might be happening for parts of the southern tier of Alabama. But other than that, again, the chances of that stays low. And then you got another day of seeing temperatures on the 17th, yet remaining in the middle to upper 70s to some of you in the low 80s, especially around the Panhandle up into near the New Orleans community. And then you got some 60s and low 70s for highs too, so a little cooler than here in the Mississippi Valley. And this is Tuesday, November 18th, and it shows yet most of the region here in the south, which is here in the southeast, yet tends to still be on the drier pattern, with the showers again mostly staying offshore out in the Atlantic. And yet turning out to be another nice one, with temperatures still flirting around the mid to upper 70s to some of you hitting around or close to 80, with a little cooler up north where it shows temperatures yet in the 60s and low 70s around the Mississippi Valley region, and you got some lower 60s over towards the portions of near the South Carolina coastline, which includes Charleston and surrounding areas. And then last but not least, this is the first half of the day on Wednesday, November 19th, and it shows maybe a few showers clipping into the southeastern part of the peninsula, but the rest of the region still tends to stay yet fairly dry. And then you got morning low temperatures beginning to start to drop in the 50s and 60s by then, and perhaps a little chillier up north where it shows some 40s and low 50s in the valley and for portions of the west side of the Panhandle, and that includes the Pensacola area. But other than that, there you have it. So what I'm going to do right now is go ahead and sign out of Facebook Live on this Monday afternoon. And I hope to have the next update right back here, back to its usual time, which is at 8 p.m. And I will also continue as usual by posting more notes and updates on my blog and social media platforms 24/7. In the meantime, please continue to stay safe by taking care of yourselves and each other, and God bless.